What is tokenized real estate? And I'm going to simply explain this in today's video. And if you've been hearing people talk about tokenized real estate, you're wondering what exactly it is, please know that you're not by yourself. I know that it sounds very technical, it sounds very complicated, but the concept is actually much simpler than most people actually think. In this video here, I'm going to explain it in plain English, no confusing blockchain language, no tech jargon. I'm just going to give you a simple explanation of what tokenized real estate is and why people are talking about it. Okay, why many are believing is one of the biggest changes that are happening in real estate today. Okay, but first, let's talk about traditional real estate. Okay, I want you to think about buying a rental property, right? Most people have to save tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Then they have to qualify. Okay, you got to qualify for financing, and you got to actually close on the property, manage the tenants, handle the repairs. You got to pay the taxes. Okay, you got to pay the taxes. And if they ever wanted to sell, it could take weeks, months, or even years. So traditional real estate works. It absolutely do. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but it's very, very expensive to enter. It's slow to buy, and it's difficult to divide between a lot of people. Okay. Now, what has changed? Technology. Technology has changed. Just like music, remember we used to have the CDs and we had to put in the CD, or even I'm dating my age, even putting in the tape recorder. Yeah. Okay. Music has changed. Now we can go on apps, download music on the internet. Movies has changed. You remember Blockbuster? Yeah. I know I'm dating my age and tell her how old I am, but I remember Blockbuster. Okay. And then now that's what we have, streaming services like Netflix. Remember banking? Remember you had to go into the bank in order to get your withdrawals out, in order to deposit. Now you can do that with the click of a button on the internet, okay, on the websites. That's what's happening in real estate right now. Instead of requiring one person to own an entire property, technology now allows ownership to be divided into much smaller digital pieces. And that's where tokenization comes in at. Okay. So I want you to imagine this. Imagine there's a $1 million apartment building. Okay. Traditionally, one buyer will purchase the whole building. But imagine cutting that ownership into thousands of digital pieces. Instead of buying the whole building, someone could purchase a smaller portion. Like you can purchase a small, I can purchase, my mom can purchase, your mom can purchase, your sisters and brothers. That's how that works. That's what tokenization does. It divides ownership into digital units that represent part of a real property. So tokenization changes how ownership is distributed, okay? While the underlining of the real estate remains the same, okay? So what is a token? Okay, we're going to break this down. What is an actual token? A token is simply a digital record, okay? Think of it like a receipt or a certificate. Okay. Instead of a paper document sitting in the file cabinet, your ownership is recorded digitally. Okay. That's what that token represents. That's what represents your ownership, not in the home, but in the token. The token is saying that that's how we are recording digitally. The record lives on a blockchain. So instead of inside a stack of papers, it's a digital ledger. Okay. So I know you're going to ask Sharita, what is the blockchain? Or you may hear words like on chain. So even if you do some searching, you're going to hear a blockchain or you may hear on chain. Okay. And I know that word scares people, but blockchain or on chain, blockchain is it's a digital ledger. Okay. You remember how we used to have to write down in our checkbooks? I'm dating myself my age, writing the checkbooks when you had to actually balance your checkbook. No, like this, the blockchain is what it is. It's a simple place where ownership records are stored. So instead of writing these things down, we have a ledger that keeps up with these. Okay. So we have smart contracts. Instead of one company keeping the records, many computers they verify those records together. So that creates transparency as well, because everyone is looking at the same information. So I'm not nobody can go in there and make changes without it, without any of us knowing. The blockchain becomes a shared record of ownership and transactions. Absolutely. Okay. Now, tokenization doesn't change the property itself. Okay. That is very important. The apartment itself doesn't become digital. Okay. This is not like metaverse or anything like that. The building doesn't disappear at all. People still live there. Okay. People still rent these homes and these real estate properties out. Okay. Rent is collected. Maintenance is still happening. Okay. The real estate stays exactly the same. What changes is how ownership is represented and managed. Tokenization changes the ownership structure, not the physical asset itself. Okay. So, why are people so excited about this? Like me, and a lot of us are excited because it's a low entry point now into real estate. It gives us fractional ownership, digital record keeping, global accessible, so anybody can participate in any country, and it's a simpler ownership management system. Okay. Many believe that these improvements could make real estate ownership accessible to more people than the traditional model has ever done. Okay. It doesn't mean traditional doesn't work, it still does. However, this is giving people like everyday people like me and you somewhere where we can put our money and we can allow our money to make money for us, leveraging tokenization. Okay. Now, the company that I represent is called eEstate, and I'm going to talk about how does eEstate use tokenization, because if you do a quick Google search, you're going to find that there are many different tokenization platforms and companies out there, but everybody doesn't operate the same. Okay. This is where eEstate enters the picture. So eEstate is a platform built around tokenized real estate. So instead of purchasing an entire property, participants like myself, we purchase EST tokens. That's what we call our tokens, EST. They are designed to represent the participation, okay, linked to that real estate. Okay, whether it's a house, a commercial property, a villa, we get that opportunity. We can purchase those EST tokens, and those EST tokens are connected to the real estate. Okay. Now, the estate uses blockchain to record the tokens ownership. Like we discussed earlier, it connects participants like myself to professionally managed properties. So these properties that we have on the platform, they're real properties, they're managed properties. There are some people that are renting the properties, some that they're on listed on Airbnb where people can, stay in them if they want to. We get a chance to make money when those properties make money. So the token is connected to the profitability um, of each real estate. Okay. So when a home is on Airbnb, it makes money, we make money. Okay. That's how that works. Okay. Now, what about the management? Who manages the properties? Okay. That's another a question that people often ask. Who actually take care of the building? We don't. Okay. Someone has to, but with estate, the property operations are handled by professional asset management rather than individual participants. Okay. That means we're not expected to manage tenants, or the property itself. We have operations that handle that. We have a whole real estate empire. Okay. They've been over 50 years of management, so they know how to manage properties. We don't have to do any of that at all. okay, and which I absolutely love. I just want to make my money without having to worry about all the other things, okay? But there are big companies that are watching this, okay? There are people, there are big people that are watching this too. Larry Fink talked about tokenization. Grant Cardone talked about tokenization. Even Trump talked about tokenization. And tokenization is just something smaller companies are. It's not just something that smaller people are discussing. There are major financial institutions that have publicly talked about tokenization as it is developing. Okay, do a quick Google search and you will see the reason this is so simple is because the infrastructure, okay? The infrastructure is a digital infrastructure and it can make ownership records, settlements, and asset management more effective. That's why you'll hear phrases like real world assets or RWAs more and more in conversations around finance, okay? So I do have some final thoughts about tokenized real estate. When it comes to the tokenized real estate, it's not about replacing real estate in general. It's just another iteration of real estate. It's about monetizing our ownership. Okay. It's about getting on chain, getting digital. The buildings are real. They stay real. The ownership just becomes digital, just like everything else. So whether this becomes the whole future of real estate, it remains to be seen. Okay, we're still in the very beginning, but this is a space that is growing. It's attracting attention around the world. And again, if you're curious about how platforms like eState work, I put a link down below in my description. All about, it's a 3-minute overview. Okay, 3-minute overview below. I want you to go and watch that 3-minute overview, learn how tokenized real estate works, see how everyday people are participate, and you decide if it's a right fit for you. Okay, you get to make that decision. But I know that 3-minute overview is really going to help you. And if you have additional questions, you're like, you know what, I want to check this out. I have very limited spots on my calendar. Book a call with me. Let's have a conversation and see how this can fit in with you or maybe even your company. Okay. I can talk to you about how this can fit even with your company. If you have a nonprofit, if you have a business, this can work for you as well. Okay. So everything is linked in my description or even I'll put it in the comments. I hope that this video was helpful for you and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Bye for now.